Hello, my name is Aaron Barsh. I've worked at Field Environmental for about 2.5 years now, and I work back in our service center. I mainly deal with our handheld XRF analyzers and Trimble GPS devices. Today I'll be going into detail on one of our staple XRFs, the Olympus Vanta C-Series. So what is XRF? XRF is a non-destructive analytical technique used to determine the elemental composition of a material. It uses high-energy X-rays from a controller X-ray tube to knock out an electron within the atom of a material. Then, a higher energy outer electron comes in to fill that space, which results in excess energy being emitted in the form of X-ray fluorescence. The device can then receive and interpret this fluorescence to give you an idea of what the element is. Here are some basic features that make the Olympus Vanta stand out from other XRF analyzers. The main draw is that it is a tube-based XRF. This means there's no radioactive source inside the unit, and no radiation is being emitted until the unit is powered on and the trigger is held. This makes it a little easier to comply with local and state regulations, along with making it a little easier to ship. It features up to 3 beams which all operate at different energies to help identify different elements. It also comes with a deadman trigger, which requires the trigger to be held throughout the entire test, stopping it immediately if the trigger is released. This, along with the safety shutter, makes it a little safer for the user to operate and limits their exposure to radiation. All data on the unit is stored internally, which can then be exported into a CSV format, which is easily accessed by the USB flash drive on top of the unit. It even can come with a mobile workstation, which allows for continuous and hands-free sampling while you're out in the field. There's a multitude of different applications that the Vanta can be used for. This includes, but is not limited to, scrap recycling, precious metals testing, geochemistry, mining, environmental assessments, and last but not least, lead paint testing. We will primarily focus on geochemistry here, as that is most related to the HAZWOPER, but FEI does have units equipped for alloy testing and lead paint testing too. XRFs can be used in soil analysis to identify many key elements in a short amount of time, and give results in both ppm and percentage. This can be very helpful in screening for toxic metals, which can later help determine the proper amount of PPE needed to help keep workers safe in the field. Some common groups looked for include the national standard RECRA 8 and the CAM 17 metals. These include elements like arsenic, lead, and cadmium, just to give a few examples. Remember that these are handheld units meant to be used in complement with traditional lab equipment. They can give you quick and accurate results, but will still need to be sent into a lab for a full precise analysis. A little fun fact, we actually currently have several XRF units being used for soil analysis at the fire cleanup response in Maui, Hawaii. The Vanta can detect a large majority of elements, including most elemental metals, as seen by the chart of the periodic table here. There are, of course, some limitations to what handheld XRF units are capable of. Some elements are a little too light or a little too heavy to be detected, as shown in gray here. Other elements can only be measured down into a certain concentration. While handheld XRF units can be incredibly useful, it's important to keep in mind that they do produce X-rays, which are harmful to all living things. When used with proper training, however, the risk is very slight. It's up to you to be the responsible operator. Just to put this risk into perspective, you could use this thing for 30 hours a day, 400 days a year, and still only be about 2% of the permissible exposure limit. If only we could figure out how to get all that extra time. The most important thing, though, to remember is ALARA, as low as reasonably achievable. Always keep the unit in full arm's length away while testing, and only pull the trigger when directly on a sample. Field Environmental Instruments requires anyone who uses one of our XRFs to be radiation safety trained. We do offer free radiation safety training to all of our customers. If interested, contact an FEI office near you today. Here are some tips and tricks for using the Olympus Vanta. If you are scanning soil in plastic bags, you can place the end of the gun right up on the sample while testing. If you're scanning soil directly, we would recommend using a simple barrier such as a Ziploc bag to prevent damage to the probing window. This window helps prevent dirt and other debris from getting inside the X-ray tube and causing damage. Some symbols you might see on the XRF while testing can include LE, which stands for light elements. These are elements with lower atomic numbers which cannot be measured by handheld XRF units. You also might see ND, which stands for non-detectable. These would be concentrations of elements that are below the limits of detection, as we've seen on the periodic table in the previous slide. Remember, you can always adjust your test times up if you find your results are a little lacking. Next, I'll be showing you a quick demo on the Olympus Vanta. Here's a quick run-through of what using the Olympus Vanta might look like out in the field. First things first, I'm going to do a quick cow check on it just to make sure everything's looking good. We do that by taking the base station and simply just letting the unit rest in here. Now I'm going to log into the screen. Hit our settings here in the upper left corner and scroll down to count check. Now it'll ask us to put the unit in front of the stainless steel 3/16 sample, which is just located at the bottom of the docking stand. We'll now press and hold the trigger. You can see it runs through for about 15 seconds to do the count check. And you can see it says cow check passed, which means everything is reading up to par. Now for an actual soil sample, I'm just going to go through and check a couple settings here. I'm going to check our test times, which is the time that each beam is set to test for, just to make sure everything is enabled. You can also even go into Element Suite, which shows you what each beam is actually scanning for. So we'll make sure Geochem is selected here in the select method. Close this. And then I'm actually going to put it into the workstation here to kind of show you what that looks like. Super easy. The unit just slides right in at the bottom here. Push it up until you hear the click, and then you just put your sample in here. As you can see here, I have a NIST soil standard here. I'm simply just going to put this in here, close the lid, and start scanning. You can see on the screen as well, it shows you X-rays for beam 1 of 3, along with the 10 seconds for each beam. Then it shows you when it switches beams as well, and you can see the readings updating live on the screen. Once the lights are no longer blinking, the test is complete. The unit is no longer shooting X-rays. And we can scroll through here and see what all our results look like. And there you have it. It's about as simple as that.